which is admittedly not that many things.
JUNKMECH, you are all set. I have started the event on the server, so people will see the notification. They will hop in, and you can just kind of go with it, do whatever you need to do. If you need support, you could always let me know, and I'll jump in and whatever's.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are free to join it at any time anyway. I think we can be fairly flexible. Readjust. Here. You know what I could do? I could rotate this entire tripod.
So we'll say to the people that are just starting to filter in now, we're right about to get started. Thank you so much for coming. For those who have not been checking out on the Show Z Store Discord server, JUNKMECH has been posting not just his amazing photography, but also tutorials. He's been helping people out with repairing their figures. He's been collecting for many years, so he has a lot of great knowledge, not just in figure construction, but in how to pose your figures and make your collection look the best that it can.
As long as you don't ask me to design your shelf layout for you, then you're in great hands. Because I'm never satisfied with those. There are people who do these beautiful displays, but I am not one of those, but I make them stand pretty on the shelf. It's my claim to fame. And yeah, I figure we'll wait around just a few minutes and make sure people have a chance to come on in, and we'll get down to business to defeat the Huns.
We'll say the people that jump in also, you can go ahead and jump in if you got a question. Otherwise, what you could do is you can utilize the text chat that is connected to this voice chat, and I'll be monitoring that and helping JUNKMECH out.
Yes, I'm happy to answer any posability questions, tips. Like, I have a game plan for what we'll go over, but, I mean, obviously I'm not comprehensive. So I'm happy to take questions. I'm also setting this guy up to be in the most basic possible stance, so he will be in good order. This is a really good pose. I like this one.
Bro.
I like the out of the box special. One thing I like to do is, with figures that are packed slightly loose, I always take a picture of them in the pose they're in when you pick them up out of the box. And sometimes they're like splayed out in the most bizarre ways possible. It's a pretty fun pose in its own way. Let's see. I actually didn't get the event notification. I don't know how it works. Oh, live now. It did work. I just literally hadn't turned my head. It's a skill I'm still working on. It takes a little time.
Your head swivel's limited by your kibble.
Bad joke. Yeah, see, I have to get meat-safe lubricant that won't degrade, so I can loosen up my head rotation.
You're going to such a
That's how it goes. It's open. I wonder if we're gonna get photobombed by a cat now that I have my door open. I think that would be a really good scenario.
We could only hope.
I cannot teach you guys how to pose your cat, unfortunately. That's well outside my wheelhouse.
The cat could probably teach us how to pose humans, though.
Oh yeah. Oh, here she is. Hello. I had the door open for about 5 seconds, and she's already here.
That's all she needed.
Causing crime. No. Don't cause trouble. Why are you so criminal?
What's your
I can't get her.
name?
Her name's Poop.
That's... I can't
Here,
decide.
we'll see.
I can't decide how that is. Oh,
There she is.
Look at that poop.
It's actually her nickname. Her full name is Spook, but she goes by Poop. Bye. Okay. So I don't want to drag our feet until eternity as far as things go. So we'll give it, I don't know, in your experience, you want to give it like 4 more minutes, wait until 6:10, and then we'll launch into the format.
It's completely up to you, dude. Like, if you want to go for it, you know, people are just gonna filter in and out, you know.
Yeah, that's fair. The only thing I have is that resident photographer Nicey Enjoyer does a pretty decent job and doesn't really need my help.
Well, listen, we could all learn from each other. But yeah, I honestly, I wouldn't spend too much time waiting for people because people will just pop in and out as they can.
Yeah, it's fair. That's the one thing I don't. You gotta balance. I should just start chewing gum very loudly on camera and turn this into ASMR. I've actually seen figure posing ASMR. It comes onto TikTok sometimes. It's just the sound of clicking ratchets next to a camera. Click, click, click.
Oh yeah, baby, give me that Fan's Toy squeak.
I have.
Yeah.
Will this click? Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's do some posing. And that's how you pose your figure. Like that.
That's it.
Okay. What an unreliable... Okay. Fine, Grandpa. Grandpa make toys over here. So, I think he's the best subject right now because he is so traditional as far as his articulation is concerned. This gentleman checks all the boxes and no extras at all. I mean, hell, his shoulders are on a ball joint, which is kind of foul. Fans Toys did it though, recently, so ball jointed shoulders are in again. Please all join me in welcoming back the era of ball jointed shoulders. You can do that. Nice. So, in my experience, the typical sort of pose that you see people do with figures when they're not comfortable posing is they'll do one click out on a hip ratchet, click, bend the ankles, and you're off to the races. Sometimes they'll give them a gun on this lovely Make Toys rail, and you get like one of these. And you're like, okay, this guy is ready for the shelf. I like to imagine them going to war. I also like, this is my personal preference for kind of toy poses. You get the arm straight, and you're in good shape. And you know, it's one of those things where people see it and they go, "Wow, that is a toy. You have a toy right there." You got him standing. It's like, yep, that's toys. And you know, it's fine. You can do toys if that's your preference. This can be your pose. The thing that I wanted to go over with our little content today was basically expanding people's repertoires just a little bit, giving them a little more to do as far as bringing stuff to life, because it's not very complicated. I mean, it's all in like subtlety, right? So most people don't do a full rigid arm. They tend to do something a bit more subtle. But also, I don't know, pointing the gun has never been my personal taste, just because it's so active to put on a shelf. But you know, it's a thing you can do if you'd like to do it, to quote a certain reviewer. But as far as getting a nice dynamic stance, it really doesn't take much. It's normally a little rotation in the hip, which this guy's ratcheted for reasons I'm absolutely unaware of. It's a little bit of rotation. You know, it can be pretty simple. You can draw a little life out with just a couple simple moves. And a guy like this, that's all he has available. You get some simple moves. Maybe you do something really weird with the head. Or you tear it off. Okay. Now let's get dynamic with it. So with no head on, now he is unchained. Get him looking powerful. He doesn't need to head to get ahead in life. Heck yeah. He is living his best life. But yeah, you know, let's do the opposite. How's it look? There we go. Upward tilt. Like, in my experience, you really get a lot more energy out of a pose when you start kind of getting them looking accusatory. You've stepped on their territory for the last time, something like that. You know, obviously it doesn't really apply to him, headmaster and all, but you know, you can get a lot more life just by flexing some of those joints a little bit. Though, where is he? Ransack, right? Ransack, right? Am I wrong? Is that him? Is he Venom? He could be Venom.
Ransack.
He could be Venom if he wants. Let him have Ed Hardy in his movie. Don't be mean. Spider-Man. I would like to see Ed Hardy in a Transformers. He would be quite a lot of fun. But with something like this, like, I almost think some of the slightly more modern Hasbro options look kind of good in a really basic sort of stance like this, where you just have him stand, you know, and he can do like the full-on weird leg angle thing, which is a fun little trait of this mold. And I don't know, like, Hasbro stuff lends itself kind of to being extremely static, but not looking terrible, you know? You get him totally dead on. Somehow looks right, you know? You walk into someone's shop, they have a giant row of Hasbro toys all standing exactly like this. And you go, yeah, I think this is how I would like to display these toys. But, you know, you can add some subtlety to it. Slight splay of the legs, rotate the elbow just a little tiny bit. Of course, this guy's crazy wings kind of get in the way of... Yeah, there we go. That looks... Wait a minute. I wonder if there's ever been fiction where one of these guys used their big grasshopper wings as a weapon. Kind of get him braved up a little bit. Full on chest lances or something. He would really pull it off. Well, that's just insect mode, isn't it? He's transformed. But the trick here is just going to be to get something where he doesn't totally look hollow and lifeless. Unlike the company that made it. Just kidding, that's a bad joke.
Bro.
I know. Terrible. Just terrible. They actually have some pretty inspired designers. I think the budget thing has been what's killing them. But you can get, you know, he can do some cool stuff. I actually like that. If I had a shelf where I displayed these, I think I would display him in something where he looked kind of like an anti-air turret robot with his old-fashioned Tommy gun, which I always thought was a really charming design element. But you can't possibly make him look like he is threatening to anybody, no matter how hard you try. Point it right at the camera, dude. You'll never convince anybody that that thing does anything but shoot Nerf darts. It's Nerf for nothing with these Insecticons, man. But I just realized his... Oh, that's a very strange setup. Yeah. He can shoot over barriers, by the way, if he utilizes his arm the way it was designed to. It's advanced operations. Anyway. I nudge the camera very slightly. Like, you can convey a lot of different kind of energy just by how you choose to bend the legs, which is nice. You know, you can get them looking kind of intimidating and weird, like some little golem insect, which is kind of fun, just by really hunching them down and splaying the legs out a little bit, which may or may not come through. Excuse me, sir.
It's interesting.
Put him on the
JUNKMECH. You've got some figures in like very dynamic poses with like where you're utilizing like the full range of motion of the joint, like that Optus Pexus and Magic Square. But then you've also got like, I mean, for the Make Toys Cupola and for Ransack there, you know, they're more subtle, but they still have life to them. Any tips for how to figure that out? Or like for people who are just starting out, how should they go about trying this stuff out?
Well, it really depends on what you want to convey. And having intention behind it, I think, defines a lot of it. Where you just go, okay, I want this guy to look dynamic, right? Which means that you want to engage, if they have it, you engage the ab crunch, you get the legs bent, you get the elbows kind of intentional, ready to move type of thing. And you get them in a position where they really look like they could do something. Meanwhile, if you want something a little bit more static, which is kind of my preference, if you look at my shelves, everybody's pretty statically posed because they're not doing anything, they're just standing there. So you can get a lot of life out of it with intent, and I think that's the big step, is to figure out how you convey what you want with it. And I think a lot of people just go, well, you know, it's a toy, I'm just putting it in a pose. But if you get it, if you have any kind of, if you rationalize it a little bit, you go, well, you know, this guy's springing into some sort of action or engaging in some sort of activity. It guides what you're doing a lot, much more so than you get otherwise. Like, this is a bit more of a dynamic position, I would have said. Get those ankles tilted. That's like a firefight type of pose, you know. Let's move Kupola here.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point what you just said, like, to have the intent before you get started. So it's almost like if somebody's trying to figure out taking it from that out of that box pose because it's a figure that they just want to put on the shelf, before you, I mean, like, you could futz around with it, but before you like start just cramming it into a pose, think about what kind of pose might look good out, or what kind of activity you might be aiming for.
I mean, exactly, and like, it feeds a lot into photography, especially where you get your subject in front of your camera. Do you want them to be doing something? Are you trying to convey some sort of action? Are they engaged in a firefight? Are they chilling out? Are they disapprovingly staring at you while you pose? You know, I mean, that intention behind it feeds into the positioning a lot, because people in real life move with intent most of the time. When you do stuff, it's, you know, when you do things, it is with a purpose. You don't just kind of move for no reason. Oh, 1 second.
So I'm gonna say we have a question in the chat.
Yes, aerial poses.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me grab a stand and we can do some aerial poses. So I'll get someone who's good for that.
Yeah.
A board. The best Legends addicting figure of all time for Mini, because he was so cheap. Some places you could get Fur Mini for $25, and then you go, wow, this is what we're in for. And of course we will be using the Kang Toys foot stand, because it works really, really well. There we go. So aerial poses can be really tricky, because obviously we do not have a lot of frame of reference for flying through the air. I would not recommend trying to do so for most people. But in my experience, what you want to do, I'm not going to display his whole backpack out, it's simply too much. But in my experience, what you want to do with aerial poses is to try to convey the fact that they are actively going through the air. Things like a little bit of a knee bend. It depends on if you have them flying or jumping, because obviously you do different motions. But generally tilting ankles down if you can, bending feet, pointing toward where they took off from, will convey a little more of that kind of airborne energy. As well, like, again, it just depends on how you want to explain it away in your head, but like for this guy, we will do a bit of a, okay, we can splay the wings out a bit. Bit of a swoop type of move. And it seems like generally in in airborne positions, figures, or well, characters rather, always brandish their weapons up high over their head, bring that momentum down with them when they're striking from the air or something. This guy can't do anything quite so elaborate due to his shoulder pads. There we go. But yeah, the trick in my experience is to try to convey that weightlessness in some way. And obviously this guy can't fit on this stand all that well, but getting those legs pointing down. Normally I like one up for aerial poses for some reason. God, he will not cooperate. You know what? Fine, have it your way. You can sit back there. We'll get Dad in on this. So, for things like a rising position, for example, you want to try to angle your whole the energy of what you're doing up toward where they're rising to. So with him, for example, I would probably do a little bit of a backward arc on the chest. Get that bent. Bend the leg back. Because he's obviously going to have to jump, I don't think. Wait a minute. We will bring in this. Jetpack. Yeah, that'll give us a nice excuse. Not that it particularly matches, but on camera you can barely tell, so it's fine. So, something like that. Because generally the trick is going to be you look where you're going, right? So, if you're going airborne, you're looking up, you're moving up. You get something like this. You can Superman a little. Yeah, getting those feet pointed toward the ground. I don't know why, but it seems like anytime in a movie or in a show when they're really going up and ascending, you get a little bit of that. Point that leg down. And like when you jump, you arc your back just a smidge. So you get one of these Superman type poses. And it conveys fairly well, I would have said. You can read that, you look at that and you go, okay. He's moving to infinity and beyond. That's the way to display this guy. Him on the box. Actually works fairly well. You can also get like the traditional Optimus Prime type, like leap into action.
The 86 jump, right?
Exactly, the 86 jump, which there's a frame of that I've always really liked. I mean, obviously he's got that really uncomfortable looking pose that he does as he's shooting. I was looking at it the other day in like detail and I was like, that is a really pretty interesting kind of position. It is not what I imagine it to be.
Best action
basically
sequence of all time.
Yeah, it is truly one of the genre defining moments. I feel like you see that scene and you're like, holy cow, this is so cool. But yeah, you can get something more. Let's see if I can get that. Again, the trick here is that backward arch really conveys the effort of taking off, which is always good. Yeah, there we go. Let's see if he can be visible on camera. Not really. He's a little tall. Let's do a little. What is this? No. This one. Elevator going up. There we go. So if you have a flight stand, it increases your options quite a bit. Unfortunately, I don't have anything that will work for someone big, like Optimus here. Well, okay, I do, but it's one of those things that, goes missing. Put it somewhere weird, and then it's removed from your existence. But yeah, big tips for aerial positions are going to be have all of their energy directed toward where they're going, unless they're specifically doing something like jumping backwards. Actually, that will work really well. So get that. Open his hand up real quick, and get the gun. Flight stands they truly are the single tube stock of collecting. I bought a really nice one that's designed to hold like an MP size. I think they're like a 1/6 scale flight stand. I don't know where it is. It's just gone. It's in some bin or another. Completely removed from my local awareness and existence. As you are, you know, as things want to do. But here, this is more of a jetpack position, obviously, but something like that. You have kind of that curve inward, rather, implying kind of a motion like this. But getting like this foot, I think should be more flat, but having the leading leg, I would call it, the one that goes the farthest down, pointed down, kind of conveys the airborne nature of it. Because having your feet flat is kind of implies you're standing on something. Well, that sense of weightlessness comes partially from the fact that he couldn't be standing with his legs as they are. And you end up with a, in my opinion, fairly believable jetpack position. I wish this had like blast effects you could stick in there and then you could really be soaring through the sky. But yeah, something kind of like that. On the other range of it, we can grab for Mini, take him off his stand. We'll just freehand it, I think. And like obviously he's got wings and is a bird and is therefore designed to fly without assistance. But you can get kind of a rising kind of, well, this is almost like a troop leader position, which is not appropriate for the weird little bird man, but that's okay. Again, it's all in that, like, especially with flight positions, it's all in how you pose the legs, because that sells the fact that they're not on the ground more so than anything else. Because it's the, you know, the key defining feature of being in the air is that you're not standing on the ground. Yeah, I don't know. Again, the thing I always go for some reason is has a tight knee. Thank you. Getting that leg like that always just seems to sell it to me. What you really get, just can't really stand like that. Well, I bet this guy actually can, just due to the tightness of the joints, but yeah, there you go. Not that you can see him anymore because he's too low. Yeah. And then again, the recurring tip that I will say is all just having intent in your posing. What are you planning to convey? Because it, you know, it seems sort of ridiculous. You go, well, he's doing action figure stuff, but you know, that moving with intent, posing with intent will really get you pretty far as believability in your poses. Stancer, close enough. We'll just stick you over yonder. Now, if only I could get this guy to... Can you stand there like this? My good dad. And that's another thing to take into account, is whether or not you be something that you can put on a shelf, because a lot of poses, obviously, that's impressive, actually. I'm surprised he's standing right now. Tightness of the EX joints, I guess, at work. Look at that. Looks very strange as a grounded pose. I have no reason to believe anyone would ever actually stand like that. Wait. Step into it. And there. Now it's a pose that you could conceivably stand in. And I did untab his chest somehow. These have a weird range of motion on his chest. I wish mine could do that. Oh. Yeah, I can get him to balance like this. There, close enough. That's a pose you can do if you want to do it.
JUNKMECH, do you ever use aids like Fun Tag or Museum Buddy? Anything like that?
Fun Tack and Museum Buddy. I'm gonna be honest, I never have. Blue Tack is one of those brands that I'm in the know of. I've used it for some stuff, but I've never used it for something like posing aid. I tend to pretty much exclusively go for what I can get the toys themselves to do. But I know you can get some really crazy out there stuff with a little help. Like there's that guy who turned the New Age blanking on his name right now. Omega Supreme into a gun. primarily
awesome.
through the use of Blue Tack and also breaking his figure. There was some part where he's like, "You have to break it right here to do this."
Yeah, I saw that, dude. That looks amazing though when he did.
And gun.
Yeah,
indeed.
He turned
Omega Supreme into like an assault rifle.
Dude, yeah,
it was clearly not meant to do it, but he like snapped a piece off somewhere in like a flap.
I think it was like
and
Motion or Captain Pioneer.
I don't think it was Mang Motion, but very well could be Captain Pioneer.
Or Double Dagger. It might have been Double Dagger. But
you know,
we'll find it and we'll get it over to see.
Yeah, that'll get a highlight here at some point. Pexis can do some interesting stuff, huh? One thing we can touch on is like the quintessential running pose. We had a big fun time of it the other night in the TF Showcase channel, which may or may not have been the right place for it. Just getting guys running, because you can convey a lot of different energy with it, and it's just one of those things that's kind of fun to do. There's some people who every time they get a new figure, I don't remember who it is. It's someone I follow on Twitter. Post them in a full-on, just like they do a run. Just like Kuma Style's trademark is he has this very specific sort of saunter he has figures do.
He's great. I love this channel.
Yeah, Kuma Style's a cool guy. He's got some very interesting opinions and lots of knowledge about stuff. Makes him an interesting guy to talk to. And he, has good taste. He's always like stuff that's pretty good, objectively. Let's see. So we'll do one of these. The trick with something like running, which I talked about in the channel the other day, is in order to really convey something dynamic like running or walking, you have to exaggerate the motion more than you might expect. Just because otherwise it doesn't come across quite dramatic enough. You end up with something that really looks more like a walk. I'm just on a nice casual patrol as compared to I am running into action, you know. And that's something to be aware of with things that we kind of take for granted. Like if you want to run, you could walk outside and run right now, right? If you wanted to. What is Captain Pioneer? Here we go. But in order to really get a figure to look like they're doing it, you have to sell it a little bit more than you might have to in real life. Because in real life, when you run, you move with momentum. You're actively doing something, but fortunately, Transformers aren't real. Yet. There might come a time. Maybe they're already out there. Who knows? It'd be really embarrassing if we had the look completely wrong, though. They all look, they're not IDW, but they do look exactly like Earthspark. The way everybody's considered them to look has just been wrong this whole time.
So, like, to showcase, like, to get that exaggerated running pose, what do you do? Do you, like, overextend the joints? Or how
so you can, if you really want to get, like, a wacky run, but, like, for something like this guy, for example, let me exaggerate this a little more, but to convey the motion, the trick is to throw the torso forward. So his ab crunch is going very hard right now from the side. I didn't realize there was a ball joint in there. But you sell the momentum more through the whole motion of the figure by pushing it more than you might think you have to. Because that really is kind of a full-on dead dead sprint type of pose. He's charging into action. And you can maneuver like the intensity of the motion just by tilting the chest more or less back. Because now it's like a lot less intense of a run. And all I did was tilt the chest back. And you can just, you know. And it's that through line, right? So you get more energy into it by pushing that harder. We can also do a little bit of a... We can Naruto it a little bit. Honestly, anime makes a pretty good reference for posing because they're conveying energy through something that's not there. And it gives you a decent idea of kind of what their tricks are. You know, obviously, I don't know. I'm not an animator, and this is absolutely not animated, but a lot of the tricks do apply. The way that you sell motion and stuff is always going to be the same when it's something that doesn't exist. There. Get him narting. Yeah,
So,
JoJo poses are also good for that because it gives you an idea of how to exaggerate. But what were you gonna say?
What's your opinion on one-legged running poses?
I think that one-legged running poses are really good and honestly better in some ways over two, but the problem is that they tend to be a lot less stable. I say as I immediately get him into an extremely stable one-legged running pose, but that's just Pexus magic at work, so.
Really effortless.
Yeah,
it took you less than a second, bro.
Yeah, that's Pexus. That's not me. He makes it so easy. It conveys kind of a different sort of energy. It is definitely more. God, okay, he can't have these Naruto arms anymore. It's killing me.
Honestly, I thought he was gonna hit like a mean and gritty. I wasn't getting the Naruto vibe anymore.
Hit that dab. I don't know what a gritty is. Oh no,
Oh,
that's old man. That's old man energy. We won't get into that. We won't get into the I don't know what the young kids are doing these days thing. That's a whole thing. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I mean you get it. I don't know. I think there's pros and cons to one or two-legged. Maybe a little. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's pretty good actually.
Yeah, one-legged needs that outward little tilt.
Yeah, it really does
survive.
because otherwise you just can't get the mass centered in the right way. Because by doing a little bit of outward tilt, is this focus? I can't actually tell, but you can pivot where the center of mass is, because obviously he'll just fall right over. But center it over the top, get a little tilt in there. Let's bring that crunch in a little. There. See, that's like a nice authoritative stride. He's just stepping. He's not necessarily doing a full-on runs at you with intent.
Taking a jolly walk.
Yeah, commanding walk. He's going down to the... you know, he's going down to the police ward or what have you. This is actually what, Stormbringer, right? So he's going to get annihilated by Thunderwing. But yeah, with running poses, generally the trick is going to be to have one leg extended or partially extended, and then one kind of bent. But you don't want to go like full on back like this, because then you're totally into the wacky zone. Which, I mean, there's something to be said about going into the wacky zone. Let's see. But the thing is a lot of realistic motion is pretty subdued and energy efficient, so you don't do outrageously big motions during standard stuff. So you want to sell it by exaggerating it compared to what it normally would be, but you don't want to oversell it, because otherwise you convey something weird. It doesn't quite come across as you'd like.
JUNKMECH, what about stuff like having multiple figures interacting with each other? So instead of posing in a vacuum, right, posing in a scene. Any thoughts on that?
Well, the big thing with multiple figures interacting is you want to have the same sort of energy level between them, unless it's the whole point is that it's not, right? So we'll have him here coming in, and we'll have him. Let's see, I'm just establishing it off camera real quick to get it nice and quick. Because unfortunately I haven't loosened up my EX copies joints all the way yet, and some of him is pretty tight, you know. Bicep swivel is... The bicep swivel is definitely something to work with. He is so much bigger. It doesn't really work. There we go. He's just gonna... And then I started blasting. Ugh.
Oh my god.
Noise. Yeah, you could hear that from here.
Yeah.
That was bad. I didn't like that very much. Oh my gosh. Okay, so multiple figures interact. Oh my. We just. I'm so glad that I'm not old enough that my neck makes that noise. But see, he is, you know, Optimus Prime's a couple million years old or whatever, depending on the fiction. So his neck is allowed to have some creaks and groans in it. Okay, let's see. So with multiple figures interacting, we'll do... I wish I had a Bumblebee. I don't have a single MP size Bumblebee because 44 or 45 I was kind of on the fence about, and then he just disappeared. And there's never been a KO. And then there's just... the old options are just not there. Okay, we'll do one of these. So we're gonna get him into kind of a... something like that, but the toes pointed down. My boy! Look what they've done to my boy. Can you hold him? Can he actually do it? Can he actually do it? Tilt that back. No. Yeah! There we go. Excellent. Not that you can see it on camera. Let's go ahead and go up elevator again. There!
Alright.
This actually looks more violent than I expected.
Yeah, I'm getting more of a WWE body slam vibe than a hug.
Oh, here.
Nice.
Dude.
Nice.
Instant suplex.
Nice.
So obviously this is kind of a absolute, yeah, father and son. This is how my dad always raised me.
Is it?
Come home from school. Hello, father. I have acquired a C+ on my test. Wham! Straight into the German suplex. My mom would run in the striped shirt and count to give me the count of 10. As I got older, the count went up. Started at 3, and then by the time I was 17, I had to get out of a 10 count. Yeah, so setting up something between multiple figures interacting is always going to be what you're trying to convey. You know, you get, if you want like a scene, obviously the trick is going to be just selling it with them. You have to kind of convince yourself really first before you do convincing anyone else that what you're doing is in the same space. Because it's so easy to just have it look like this. Look, here we go. These guys have nothing to do with each other. They're just they're in the same space, but they are not physically interacting. And selling that is all about kind of context. What are they doing? Why are they in the same place in the first place? You know? So we'll do something like this. Get this going real quick, like get him kind of in a...
That's like
Dad,
what you're talking about, like with the aerial poses, right? How you're like pointing the feet towards the ground and the head towards where they're...
Yeah, with something like this, like you can sell figures interacting by eye line and toe line, because generally people tend to face, right, what it is that they're interacting with. And let's see, do I have... here we go. here. Go. Looks good. This is sort of a... Oh, bye, dude. You're dead now. Sorry. Having them face each other is just the first step in selling the idea that they're in the same space. Because again, like, you get, where's your torso facing? You tend to... I cheat out, which is a theater term where you rotate the chest and then your head faces what you're doing, but, you know, when people really interact, they tend to do it like this. They'll cheat out, because it always looks better in my opinion, which is just, rather than having straight on, when I'm facing somebody, but I'm cheating out, the torso is pointing slightly more toward the camera, which that's totally personal preference. In my opinion, a lot of figures just don't have the backpack to be showing off. So it's kind of it's an easy method of keeping things looking clean. So we'll get this guy in here. Wish I had something. I don't have any good props. All my props went missing. I had like all these little bottles of like beer and blankets and stuff, and I just don't know where they all went. I lost them. He's got a scooter, and he's not supposed to have it, right? Kind of the idea. And maintaining believable eye contact is the big part of it. Because I think generally characters are pretty confident. They're not, you know, nervous. They're not ashamed of what they're doing. Ooh, couch that you built. I had a couch that was like a 1 to 12 action figure couch. It's gone. It's lost. Went missing. I think I put it in a bin with all my other props when I moved, and I don't know. It's been a year since I moved, and I don't know where any of it went. And that's okay. Put you back there. Let's see. Do we have anybody who I can sell would reasonably be... Oh, here. I actually have a pre-posed setup. Let's move these guys real quick. This is actually just how they are on my shelf, but this is one of those examples of having kind of the same sort of G level. Let's see if they'll fit on camera at the same time, because they're both huge. Magnus is especially just a huge guy. But that there, you here. See, this is more of a... Yeah, that works okay, other than the fact that I can't... They don't have enough room to really sell Magnus's looking at him. But stuff like pointing, where you have hands pointing, really sells the context of where they're at. Because obviously he can't point directly straight, because he'd be pointing... I guess if he wanted the Matrix out of his chest or something. But that turns into a whole thing, right? And that gets pretty complicated to convey in a single photo. And I'm not a comic guy, so I cannot impart any valuable wisdom as far as multi-panel action sequences or something. But you know, you can get to a point where you believe that these guys are maybe having a little bit of a tiff, a row. And with stuff like pointing poses, the subtlety is all in the how you rotate the hand. So you want to be careful not to totally have it flat, because with the camera it tends to read a little weird. So just a tiny little bit of rotation goes a long way toward making it read better. And readability obviously is a big thing in poses. You don't want stuff to look kind of too flat. That cheating out comes into a lot of play with posing for the camera, where, like, I mean, this is actually, his pose is a good example. So when you point, normally you just point straight, right? You do one of these, but it doesn't sell quite as well as having a little bit more rotation in the waist, a little cheating out of where the chest is pointing. it gets you a lot more visibility of the figure and looks less flat and more dynamic. And that applies. Let's move him out of here because he's just so huge. You know, that applies to all camera poses. Like, you want to have as much of the figure facing what you're doing as possible. Because it's the difference between... That's going to end up looking too good, but we'll do it like this. The problem with prime pointing is prime would point right at you. Right. He's commanding. But, like, if you have something sideways, you could do it like this, which just really ends up being a JoJo pose, but that's okay. See, it looks too cool when he does it. It's not fair. Not the intent. But having it dead on the side like this generally doesn't read as clearly as just having it cheated just a little bit. And like even on your shelf, like in my experience, it just looks better because you are the audience of your shelf, right? So have everything cheated out toward the audience just a little. So rather than pointing directly sideways like this, you just angle it just a little, rotate the torso, and it just comes across slightly better. Prime is always doing the, isn't the I want you pose, this? I want you to join the United States military, even though I am not a United States citizen. Might be effective. Oh, okay, so it is... It's a little more lean in that, actually. That's it's slightly more interesting than I expected. Huh. He's accusing you. You are not trying hard enough. And this is one of those things where the ab crunch comes into play, because you get a little more accusatory energy just by popping it forward a little. And I also push the hand down because he's not really doing that. I don't think anybody has the hands for that, not even Pexis. But it's all that through line, right? The thing that I have found with every pose, no matter what you're doing, it's all about how you want the energy to move. That's so sassy. That's a very sassy way to point at someone. I can't believe that you've done this. You didn't clean your room. You didn't brush your teeth. I would not want Optimus Prime to be my dad. Just putting that out there. As far as just like a very basic type of pose, though, like not anything fancy, no nothing going on, just standing there. There are tricks to get a static standing there pose to read good and to look decent. And you can really get a lot of just good looking posing. Whoa. That's a big posing tip. Thank you for writing all those up. I was like, whoa, what did I just see posted? That's great. But let's just go over from scratch just for fun. Going from the static toyetic pose to something a little more alive, because that is a big thing that's the primary thing I really wanted to touch on today, is just to go from this to something there. I've seen plenty of people where they're like, okay, time to here's a picture of the new toy I got. And that's the picture, right? Which just always seems like a bummer to me, because it seems like you're getting so much less. I don't know, it just seems less cool than your toy could potentially be. Can I enter the chat? Yes, I can. So here, we'll do one of these real quick. Live photo. Just for conveyance's sake. And like, I will say there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. Like, if you are happy with how your poses are, by all means. I don't think anyone has any right to tell you otherwise. But I do like to give people the option. So, just coming from here, right? The first step generally is just people go, okay, A stance. But this is, in my opinion, a very flat A stance. There's a lot more energy you can convey just by slightly rotating out, boop, boop, those thighs. That just elevates it a little bit. And I'm not going to go full on like Gundam crotch thrust because it leads a little over the top. But, you can. You just kick the legs back a click. So, if you want an A stance, which, I almost exclusively have, like my stuff, actually, I could probably just show. Let's just do that real quick. Excuse me. So all of my stuff, generally, there's some energy in there, but I do quite a bit of just like static posing on the shelf, because I leave the more interesting stuff for when I am taking pictures. But the trick to a nice kind of handsome A stance is just to engage your joints. Rotate the arm in, bend the elbow a little bit. The other elbow, thank you. Pop it out, rotate it in, just a little bit of bend. Cheat the leg out a little. Dip that head, and it's instantly, it just has more intent to it. You get something where the character looks more ready than they would otherwise, and it's really a very small difference. You don't have to do these huge things in order to get a character to look more dynamic, even in just a static pose. It's a slight bend of the elbow, rotate the thighs out just a little, and it sells so much more just the readiness, the fact that they are, present almost, I guess, in a way. The plastic's going to be there no matter what, but, it reads more of the character. And, like, here we'll take Cupola. He does so much less. But you don't need a ton of joints and all these posability options in order to get something that looks decent just to have on the shelf or to take a picture of. I do like going from A to B though. I think it's a fun little process. So this guy's thigh rotations are ratcheted for reasons I cannot begin to imagine. That's fun. This is the most basic you can really pose a figure. You just pop the arm up. And you just... my preference is always to click the legs back just a little bit, because it just ends up looking a little more dynamic, but it is by no means to everyone's preference. This guy doesn't have an ab crunch, so the trick to selling it is just going to be kind of pretending, because you can get a pretend ab crunch very easily by just kicking the legs back a notch. Where did Ransack go? I threw him out of existence. Okay, Battle Trap it is. So obviously this is not a figure that does too terribly much. And I'm also not planning on keeping for very long. He will not be around for too terribly long. I do like the design. What do you do? So, get him standing. Let's go ahead and descend to the lower floor. I found Ransack, by the way. I threw him onto my other craft area. He's over there. He's in jail now, it looks like. He can stay there. It's fine. It's where they all end up eventually. But, so, this is a toy that is acceptable. Oh, goodbye. Poor ball jointed ankles. They don't hold up.
The people want Ransack.
The people want Ransack. We don't want any of this. That's fair. Here he is.
Let's go!
Oh man. Ransack is truly the hero that we don't deserve, but we need.
Exactly.
Yeah, he is honestly a fantastic example of the bare minimum. Smash him down. That is the nice thing about. Okay, the one thing that like chug figures really have that you don't get with other stuff is like loosen him up, and you just bam, there he is, commanding, domineering, looking like a total goofball. Yeah, Battletrap's design is fantastic. I feel like the live action movies really have the capacity to do a lot. And I don't know, it very heavily is based on your taste, but I really like the Bumblebee onward live action designs. That's gonna be my hot take that I drop in this that makes everyone hate me. But anyway, so we've got
a
Ransack.
lukewarm one. Isn't that lukewarm? Or
I think
cold even?
it's like it's not even that. It's like you microwaved it for 15 seconds, and that's about as far as you got.
Don't heckle the host.
He can heckle the host a little. It's okay. So we'll go from the static. I love that forward leg bend. Can we undo that and make him more basic? Like, there we go. So I wanted to just touch on the fake ab crunch just a tiny little bit, because it's something I only kind of recently learned about. But all it really is you just you do that. That's as complicated as it gets. You tilt the legs back just a little bit, and it kind of conveys the same sort of energy as crunching the abs does for figures that don't have it as an option. It gives you a little bit more, I don't know, like I don't have the words for it, but it gives you just something a little bit more dynamic of a stance without really conveying any energy at all or any motion. You just get them standing and they look cool. And ultimately, what is toy posing but making your, in this case, this was like, I spent $15 on it, but your $120. Okay, I don't have any ridiculous examples just immediately to hand, but your expensive property that you bought. Your end goal is just to make your toy look cool. And on figures that are a little more basic, it doesn't take much. You just give them a little energy, boop, give them a little tilt. For the longest time, actually, this guy stood on my overflow shelf, posed basically exactly like this. Just kind of add attention. Give him his little 5mm peg gun. Boop. Tilt it out just a little bit. Yeah, see? This is a cool Ransack. In a non-political way. There, see? Even he can do it. This nice little simple guy. It's just all in. Cheating out the thighs is a really time-efficient way to make your stances look cool. Because it pretty much always works on everybody. Just a little tiny bit of outward thigh rotation. Tilt the head down a little bit, swing the hips back. This is actually a little over the... You can go too far with it to the point where it looks really weird, though. Yeah, he's... powerful? Question mark. This guy actually has a double. Yeah, there we go. I think the epitome of the end goal of all Gundam poses is to kind of have it. He won't stand, will he? He doesn't have any forward or back foot motion. Oh, how's? I've never transformed this toy, to be clear. So I don't know how this guy works. There. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going simply. That's the exact opposite end of the spectrum from our boy Ransack here, where you overdo it. Actually, we don't have the. I don't know if he'll stand anymore with the thighs over. Oh, he stands better. Perfect. Okay, so obviously with all things, there's too much of a good thing, and in this case, you're just overdoing the coolness. Bring it in. Just a little bit, right? And that reads much better with his V-fin head,
Dude, that's awesome.
and it's easy. You know, it doesn't take much to get them looking pretty sweet, and there's not super any fancy techniques or anything. It's just knowing kind of what reads as cool looking. I want to use an extreme example for this type of pose. We'll go with my G1 Perceptor here, who is sadly
And while you're
lovely
doing that,
microscope.
we are
Yeah,
caught
focus.
up in the chat, so if anyone has any questions, please share them so that we
Yes,
can make sure
I
we
will-
cover them.
I would be happy to touch on any ideas or anything that anybody has, because I have done, you know, quite a bit of stuff. And I'm fairly well versed, and I'm happy to impart it.
Awesome. And what I will do is I will take these notes that I've typed up from what you've said. I'll put them in the TF Showcase channel, and I'll pin it so that people. can
Wow, my
access
very
to
own
it.
pin. But yeah, the whole cheated out thighs thing even works here. Unfortunately, his arms don't do anything. He has like a lot of motion in his legs. Check that out. Knees. This toy's older than. Oh wow. This toy's older than I am. Not unfortunately by that much, but you know, he's a little older than me, and even he can pull it off. You know, something with just a little bit of dynamism. What can we do with you? I don't have a lot of G1 toys to hand, but I have a few. Including everyone's favorite. He's actually my favorite. Look at that!
I forgot
That's
about
incredible.
that gimmick.
The fact that it shows up so clearly on camera is frankly unbelievable. That is really something great. He has a waist rotation too.
Time, boys. You can't do that now.
Love to see it. That Flint is older than most of the people in the Discord, I think. Which is pretty insane. But yeah, with something, this is as limited as a toy really gets. But even he can do a little bit of like a walkie walk, you know? His ratcheted joints. I think most people are going to pose him just like that, which is great anyway, because he's so cute. I love Repugnus. Look at this guy. Such a goofball. But you can, you know, you can bring a little life to it, step the legs. Then you can give him, the fact that he has a waist rotation is insane. But, you know, you can get him doing just a little bit of some stretches or something. Oh. Goblin. Can he do, I've never tried this. Can he do step? No, there's no way. He'll never stand. Wait. Nope, there's no way. Poor guy. He can't do it. He can't manage. But, you know, that's okay. We all love him anyway. He's so joyful. He also, every single joint is ratcheted.
It's from a different time.
It really is from a different... Okay, wait, that's not true. Actually, it's on a soft ratchet. That's insane. Every single joint. Hashtag every joint. Every joint a ratchet. Every frame a painting and every joint a ratchet. Yeah, I mean, that's really about as simple as things get. Just engage the joints, you know, but don't over engage, because then you end up with some wonkiness. Let's see. He's a KO. He's very small. It looks like we have typing in the chat, but with simple poses, I mean, in my experience, like very small rotations in the shoulder and in the thigh get you a lot of engage the joints. Junk said, yeah, that's true. Do engage the joints. Don't over engage, because then you hyperextend and you get a cramp. Like With figures like this, you don't have any sort of waste. I wish this would focus, but it won't. It'll focus on my hand though. You know, with figures like this, directly looking forward never really works, partly because he has big teeth right in the way. So just a little rotation at the head gets you a lot. I love the way these guys look like little brutes. They really managed to convey that through the sculpt. In fact, I like them so much that I have not one, but 3. Because it's that KO 3-pack of undersized.
Only 3?
Chronicons?
Only 3? Really?
I'm cheap.
That's it?
I didn't need more than
Okay.
that.
It
You're not a true army builder. You're not a
comes
true
as
army
a
builder.
3-pack.
This is the biggest army building I've ever done in my life. Is 3.
You're not armying hard enough. I don't know. You're just not.
Yeah, I'm really not, but you know. They stand pretty well. Yeah, there's not really anything you can do with these guys though. Their beast mode is so limited. It really stands in one way. Because they don't have ankles, they don't have head rotations, they don't have much of anything. But they do have the ability to stand there looking mildly surprised. Guess you could do it. Oh gosh, that is a very tight joint. Oh! Yeah, not a lot you can get out of something like this. And really the trick with figures that are so limited in kind of how they can stand in a way that even remotely looks good, which is to say the Sharkticon pose, they kind of just do this. They stand exactly like that. You just want to find something that doesn't look overly squared off. Because like with this, I bet you could probably stand them up with their legs completely ramrod straight, right? No, maybe not. Wow, okay, well I think really with a figure like this, they have one optimal pose. And it's the pose where they stand and don't look totally weird. I say weird, but like it's a Florodary design there. You know, a little weird.
Yeah, they all look weird.
I love it though. I love that how weird in 80s sci-fi they really got Transformers movie. Beast poses, because generally they have such limited articulation. Normally they don't get, you know, the full ankles and everything, which is really kind of a shame. You really just need to find the pose. There we go. The pose that sells the animal they're in as well as possible. And there's not really, unfortunately, much of any tips for it. Like, he's in his monkey pose. You know he's a monkey. You can stand him up a little more, but then it doesn't sell as well the animal you want. And like for the King Toys minis, I have Landable here, which is a delightful little figure, but unfortunately this is about as much as you can get out of the guy. Like you could conceivably get him in like a little bit of a charging pose, but those back legs don't do anything, so he's gonna be pretty static no matter what you do. And with posing for figures like this, I will say there's not much. Okay, you could conceivably get his legs backwards just a little. Get him charging. Yeah, there we go. Okay. That's okay. Lower the head. Bam. Coming at you, but he's really small. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Working with the joints you have available to you is obviously always going to be your limiting factor in what you can pull off. Like, this guy is not going to be jumping through any hoops because he can't jump visibly. His legs don't move for it. But you know what he can do? He can do that. The trick here is it's the tripod. Use the tail.
It's slick, dude.
Yeah, it's in some advanced application right there. That's for masters only. I don't recommend you try that one. People have been crippled in trying to execute that. So just be careful. Oh, that's extremely gross. That's extremely gross looking. Let's just compress that back down. Yeah, I think the trick here is just getting something that really looks like a pose the animal would pull off. And you can get a little energy in there. Really, the ideal example would be a beast box, but in order to show you guys one of those, I'd have to stumble through transforming it. That's not really ideal. Well, we'll see.
Looks like you've hit on all the questions in the chat.
Yeah, I've kind of checked off all the boxes I can think of. If anybody has anything they'd like me to touch base on real quick, I'd be happy to do it. But otherwise, I don't want to keep everyone here all night. So,
What about selective, partial, or like obscured posing, where like you take advantage of optical illusions and camera angles to give the illusion of dynamism, when in reality you have like a brick, like that land mini, right? Like you could like.
oh yeah, that's kind of touching more on a. That's more of a
hybrid,
photography trick,
yeah.
but like what that would really just end up being is. Let me see if I have the right kind of prop to hand. I've done some of this in the past where you use something to boost up a corner and then you do something with your camera angle to. I don't have anything good to hand for it. Can this little wheelchair do it? Let's see. Like we could probably get this guy into kind of a banking running pose if I had a prop that would hold him up. There we go. So with something like this, it's more so going to be how you get the camera than it is going to be the actual posing itself. The trick would just be getting the pose sold in such a way that it maximizes how much obscuring of your prop that you're doing. So let's see. Does ankle roll out? Yes. Oh. Wow. Okay, I'm impressed. Easy enough. These guys are pretty great. I'd love to experience the MP someday, but I just don't have the room for them. Like that. Put that in there. Okay. So that's all. I've got it tilted as much as possible, right? And then it's just going to be getting the camera angle right to really hide what you're doing. So it's more of a hybrid lesson with a little photography and a little posing, but using the mass of the figure to hide what you're using for the angling is going to be the trick to that. And it's going to heavily depend on just what you're trying to pull off. So there's not really any general advice I can give for that. It's more just going to be put whatever you're using to kind of push the limit of the figure in such a way that it is hiding what you're doing as much as possible. Like in this case, I think it sells pretty well. And look at the quality difference of the static photo versus the webcam. Ouch. That is what it is, though. What do you do? But yeah, just that. Man, it's such a hard one to have any like kind of general advice for. It's so much case by case. Where what props do you have available? What can you use to kind of force the state you want? It's all going to vary, and it just comes down to what you're trying to convey. With stuff like this, like obviously kind of running is going to be about just getting the angle right for a figure like this, because he can't do that much, let's be honest. He's a cute little bull, but all he's going to be is someone's foot. Like really, that's what he's for. He's to be someone's foot.
It's like a metaphor for life.
You can be cute and you can be stylized and cool, but at the end of the day, you're just a foot. I suppose. Speaking of, here is that foot. Can he do Queek yet? Okay, let's try something here.
Yeah, make him fly through hoops.
I wish I had a hoop, but I think he can sell a jump pretty well. Oh, that is a really nice stand. You know what?
So good.
I'm gonna say it. The foot is a great stand. The foot, the antithesis of the hand. It's a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure joke for you, you weirdos who like that. Which I count myself among.
That's from. I don't remember when the.
What was that?
Oh no. This is more of a watching thing than a talking thing. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. You are free to totally talk. Go ahead. You are
Okay.
welcome.
I was saying you were just saying that the feet of the antithesis of the hand. I couldn't remember what part that was from because I didn't know that was JoJo's until you said it was JoJo's.
Oh, the hand is Okiyasu's stand from part 4.
Oh, I thought you were saying like that. That was something someone said and not. Okay.
No. I'm talking about stands. Where
Yeah, that probably should have occurred to me that you were talking about the hand. But
the hando. We like the hand around here. At least I do. I speak for everyone.
Yeah, it's a pretty great stand.
I like a character, a concept where you have to design situations to limit what they can do. I think that's so great. I wish Transformers would pull it off more, where the characters with the really overpowered abilities like Skywarp were being worked around, but Skywarp's limiting factor is just that he's not very smart. Which is a perfectly fine counter. Yep, you're right.
We're like, his limiting factor is that he's kind of a moron.
Exactly. You can't do more with it. And then, that whole part is just about keep away with Jotaro, where if you get him into range, you're dead, which is fun. I like that. But off topic.
Yeah.
Skewing the completely wrong direction. The only other beast former I have right now in beast mode is this lovable potato.
Oh, I need that one. I have the other two. I need that one, but like, you can only get them from eBay now for like twice the price.
Yeah, and also mine's broken, so I haven't sold it.
Mm.
Where is it broken again? Right here? Yeah, look, there's a little tiny broken bit inside. But this figure, for example, just touching on posing, is another one of those ones where I'm just gonna say get it into something that feels natural, because the legs do so little, and there's no tilts, there's none of that. Like, he can sell a walking pose if you want him to, but that's so easy to pull off with a quadruped. You just move the opposite legs. This one would be back.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I have the other two Studio Series Dinobots in robot mode. Like, I'm like literally looking at them. So that's kind of an interesting thing is that some people could probably display them more in robot mode because they probably were in more they just play more in the Dino mode than the robot mode.
Yeah, the Dinobots to me are dinosaurs most of the time.
I mean,
say,
yeah,
but then
that is how they were most of the time. Is that they were like Dinobots most of the time.
Man, this guy, you can't sell this guy very hard with the posing in this mode. I guess it works okay.
Hey, JUNKMECH, I think what I'm going to do here, just for the recording purposes...
is go ahead and cut it off.
Yeah.
Want to do a little outro and sign us out?
Yeah, just so, you can keep up with the questions, absolutely, but for people that...
Yeah, I'm fully on board with that.
Okay, cool. I don't want to, stop anything that's going. But, again, thanks everybody for coming, and if you're interested in events like this, you can always check out the ShowZ Store Discord server. There is a link in the description, and there you will find in the TF Showcase channel, you'll find a pinned post with all of these notes that JUNKMECH has shared with us. And please, JUNKMECH is one of the most outgoing people on the server. I'm sure you could hit him up with any kind of questions.
Anytime.
For posing, for repairing your figures, maintenance. He's awesome with that stuff.
Oh, I thought you said proposing. No, please don't propose to me. I have a wife. But I will happily do any toy-related questions you might have. If somebody has any sort of problems with maintenance, I try to put myself out there for that. I'm very comfortable to help with with repairs, and I'm set up for content for that now. So hopefully we'll have some stuff coming down the pipeline. Anytime anybody wants some posing tips or just to have a conversation about how to convey something for a photo, you can just go ahead and at me here, and I'll happily do what I can to help with, any topic really. I'm fairly well versed. Just don't ask me for my fiction takes because they're lukewarm at best and unpopular at worst. So nobody needs to know what I think of the TF fiction.
Okay.
But thanks for having me again. I'm happy to host these types of little get-togethers and events. I think it's super fun, and it's great that the community is kind of built up to the point where we can kind of justify just sitting down for an hour and a half and goofing and posing toys.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.